All right, you decide. Our 2025, our election coverage continues. Let's take a look at some of the latest numbers that we have to bring you up to date if you're just joining us here at the top of the 9 o'clock. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell is leading right now over challenger Katie Wilson, 54 to 46%. We'll delve into this in a little bit, but even though that is a pretty healthy lead, not enough when you consider a lot of progressives will vote very late. So expect these numbers to tighten up in the days ahead. It will be a photo finish at the very end. So we'll be monitoring this every day. By the way, we get more numbers again tomorrow at about 4:15. We'll be updating those on our newscast on Seattle News Tonight and on our website, fox13seattle.com.
All right, so take a look at this one, Seattle Council position number 2. And this was an open seat, right? So you've got two new faces here. Eddie Lynn, 69% of the vote to Adonis Ducksworth, 31% of the vote there. So, yeah, that one's an easy one for Lynn. And then another easy one for incumbent Alexis Mercedes Rink for position 8, 79% to Rachel Savage, 21%. So this was really, that one was not a surprise. A lot of people were expecting that vote. Dion Foster, position 9 for Sarah Nelson. Sarah Nelson is the Seattle City Council president. She's coming in at 42% to Dion Foster, 58%. So it looks like it's over for Nelson there, and also over for Ann Davison, the current city attorney. She's only coming in at 37% of the vote, with Erica Evans, 63%. Erica Evans has a past working for Pete Holmes. That was the city attorney prior to Ann Davison. So you kind of have a full circle moment there. And then this one, King County Executive Gurmai Zahalai and Claudia Balducci. Wow, this is going to be a nail biter. 50.8% to 49.2%. And of course, as David Rose just mentioned, you know, these votes, they're going to be shifting because at 4:15 tomorrow, more numbers are going to come in. We have Sandeep Kaushik, our Fox 13 political analyst, to, you know, give us all the layers of this. Let's start with the King County executive race. Wow, that's a close one.
It is a close race. Way, way, way too close to call. And a little like the Seattle mayor's race, I think we're going to be waiting a couple of days at least here before we're going to look at the trend line. Like, what's the drop tomorrow, and does it move a little bit more in Gurmai's direction? Does it move in Claudia's direction? Then on Thursday, you can start to see, like, if it's breaking one way or the other. We'll get a sense of how it might shake out. But right now, you know, it's close. I mean, this is a race where they both ran as progressives. I think it was a little hard for voters to kind of substantively differentiate from them. So it became kind of a race about vibes to a big extent, right? Like, Gurmai's a kind of young, charismatic, you know, up-and-comer. Claudia's the experienced veteran who, you know, ran the jail system, has been, you know, was a mayor of Bellevue and at the county for a long time. And so we were talking about this before. I sort of said, you know, it's a kind of the race between, like, Air Jordans on one side and sensible shoes on the other, right? You know, and which way?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a very good analogy. It kind of depends too on where people voted, right? In downtown Seattle, you might expect Zahalai to do well in some parts, but then King County's a big county, right?
Yes.
So did voter turnout pick up a lot today? It did where I was voting. I waited in line behind a bunch of cars to
we were seeing a lot of ballots come in the yesterday. I assume that pattern continued today. I think probably we're going to have to see what the turnout numbers are as those ballots trickle in. But I think we'll probably get to a kind of, you know, average level of turnout according to the historical pattern. Now, 4 years ago, we had turnout in Seattle of 56%. We had very high turnout 4 years ago. We'll probably get more like 50%, something like that when all is said and done.
Okay, all right, interesting.
Yeah, so we want to go to Jennifer Dowling because Jennifer Dowling is at, you know, Bruce Harrell's watch party. I know Bruce Harrell's been talking to media, and we've heard from him a lot. So what's the vibe there now? You know, what are people saying? Because, Jennifer, I want to just fill you in on what our political analysts have been talking about. Right now, we know that Harrell cannot go home and just be sleeping easy because of the fact that the 7% gap is not this astounding lead right now. Is that kind of what you're hearing a little bit from people there, or is it just mostly positive?
Here amongst the supporters, it is mostly positive, and he did say it was a tough fight, and it will be a tough fight ahead. He wanted to say that they did fight the good fight, so there was a lot of words about fighting, and it's a long haul. He knows that, supporters know that, but tonight they are definitely jubilant that he is coming out ahead. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see all the action at the party right now. We've got a lot of people people still here. Bruce has stepped out for a bit. We're not sure if he's coming back, but the party remains strong. There are people here congratulating one another. These are all supporters. It was invite only, and people just feeling joyous that this first night, this first reading has gone in his favor. He did say in his latest speech that he was in a better position than Katie Wilson, his opponent at this point. He said they've got a lot of votes at the last minute. He emphasized that. He was grateful for that. Now let's take a listen to his reaction just immediately following that vote count when he thanked his family.
The point about family is we're all family now. We are all family. This is a tough fight, and I could go to every table and shake every hand and talk about my history with you or my family's history with you. Many of you are friends of the family. We know, as I said earlier, that the fight we're trying to fight are to shelter and house people. We know that. We're trying to feed people. People are out of SNAP benefits. There are people hungry right now. There are people worried about where they're going to sleep right now. You care. It really upsets me when people don't think that we don't care. We've been doing this work for decades and decades.
And he did tell his supporters that this was, quote, one for the history books. And he says they have really come together to fight this good fight the past 90 days. He told me that he felt the thing that would push him over the edge against his opponent, Katie Wilson, was his experience level and his policies. He also talked tonight about how he was happy about the passing of the education levy and also the business tax. He was feeling pretty good about those numbers coming in for those as well. So he's having a great night tonight, but again, it's a long road ahead. Everyone knows that. They're going to be watching those returns come in the days ahead. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Jennifer, thank you. Let's talk about the numbers a little bit in the mayor's race, because when you look at these numbers, you see the percentages, you have to realize you're only talking about 23% of the votes that they have that have been counted. So there's a lot of votes left out there. Sandeep, I'm just going to bring you in real quick because you're kind of the math guy here. We're journalists, right? We're not good at math. Help us out here, though, when you're talking about statistical realities and the numbers of votes. Can we expect big changes tomorrow, or really more like 3 or 4 days from now?
I think it's going to be a couple of days. Typically, the Wednesday drop, the day after the election, is not that big, and so you'll get a little bit of an indication. But that Thursday drop is often, historically, it's a big drop, and that often kind of gives you some more clarity about which way stuff is headed. But if it's close, this could go Friday. You know, I mean, who knows? In the next week, it's happened before, where we waited, you know, more than a few days. So we're just gonna have to see.
But you know what's so annoying is that people in New York, they found out who their mayor was just instantly, almost like an hour. And here we are in Seattle, have to wait for a couple of days. But I guess that is just how our system
Well, we got the mail-in, you know,
vote by mail.
You know, this is how we do it here. That's how they like to do it. They think it's safer. So let's go out and see what's going on in Katie Wilson's campaign. Alejandra Guzman there, and I think they're pretty happy with the numbers too, aren't they, Ali?
They really are, and don't be fooled. We've got plenty of volunteers starting to pick up and gather everything around here. There's a little bit more breathing room. If Pablo, you'll swing the camera around, there's still a lot of folks, maybe not behind me, but over here, maybe towards the entrance of El Centro de la Raza, we still have quite a crowd. But let me just be clear that Katie Wilson was probably one of the first ones out, despite saying that she felt very optimistic about tonight's results. She called them very promising numbers. And I want to take you back, for those of you who may have missed this first hour of when those ballots started to come in. And she said that she remembered that night that she actually told her husband, I want to run for mayor of Seattle, and just how supportive he's been from that very moment, and just how many people have gathered here, because she returned to a historic site. I want to take a moment to emphasize what El Centro de la Raza has really meant for the city of Seattle, for activism, for culture. And she actually held her primaries watch party here, and how fitting that she returned back to this very same site. She's been very hopeful about tonight. She was a little nervous, but in speaking with a few inside sources, they told me that the 7% margin was actually within what they anticipated. divided, but she's very hopeful. She's very proud of her campaign. She's pushing forward towards transportation, raising minimum wage, and of course just emphasizing on housing affordability and creating solutions to solve our homelessness crisis here in Seattle. But I want you to hear exactly some of the words that she shared within this room alongside her husband and their toddler Josie. Take a listen.
I am just so proud of all of you. I'm so proud that we ran a campaign rooted in hope for the future, not fear or anger. I'm proud that we ran a clean campaign, criticizing the incumbent's record and policies, but not going after his character, his lifestyle, his family, or his past. I am proud of all the voters who have seen past the bad faith attacks funded by the biggest corporate PAC in Seattle election history, almost $2 million.
So again, she's very grateful. She's very proud of the support that she's received. And again, she wants to emphasize that the 7% margin is just the beginning. She's hopeful that the tide will turn, especially in the days to come. So you have to stay tuned exactly how our analysts were saying just in the next couple days, maybe Thursday, Friday, because again, she says that this is going to change in the other direction. And she's positive that Seattle wants change, not just to City Hall, but just in general in the direction that Seattle needs to go. Of course, something we'll continue to follow, but for now, David Hanna.